Trump is at the center of a dark secret that will make your blood run cold. What if I tell you that he and Israel are plotting something so devastating, so full of mystery, that it could be the trigger for biblical end-time prophecies? This isn't idle internet talk, it's a bombastic truth that's exploding right now, right in front of you, and you won't be able to take your eyes off this video. Trump, Israel, the Third Temple, the New World Order, signs of the apocalypse, all of this is lining up in a secret plan that will rip you off your chair and throw you into an abyss of revelations. Stay with me, because what I'm going to show you is so shocking that it will turn your head inside out and make you question everything you've ever believed. Just imagine, you are there living your day, but what if every piece of news that passes, every ring on your cell phone, is hiding a prophetic scheme that is already counting down to Armageddon? Trump and Israel aren't just names in the news. They're the beating heart of an apocalyptic hurricane that the Bible predicted millennia ago, and you're about to find out how they're pulling the strings of this sinister game. Have you ever felt that tightness in your chest, that something huge is coming? So hang on, because this secret between Trump and Israel is the spark that could ignite the world as we know it. Let's be honest, everything is falling apart around you, and you know it. Think about the chaos you see every day. Wars breaking out, economies shaking, the climate turning upside down. Now couple that with what Trump did to Israel, the alliances he forged, the decisions that shook the planet. This is no coincidence. It's a script being written in real time, and you're living inside it. Biblical prophecies are not fairy tales, they are stark warnings that are echoing now, and Trump is in charge of a play that could take it all to the next level. The Third Temple, the New World Order, the end times, these words are not just loose ideas. They are signs that are flashing in neon, and you need to see them before it is too late. Have you ever stopped to feel the weight of this? Trump is not just a politician, he is a phenomenon that affects forces that go beyond our understanding. He and Israel are putting together something that could be the beginning of the apocalypse, and the scary thing is that no one is talking about it openly. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull you into this mystery, because you deserve to know the truth that the system wants to bury. His every step, every handshake with leaders in Jerusalem, every promise he made is charged with prophetic meaning that will leave you breathless. So take a deep breath, because this is just the beginning. Have you ever felt like the world is on the verge of something you can't explain? That things are speeding up? That time is slipping through your hands? Trump and Israel are the tip of the iceberg, and what's hidden beneath? The surface is so big, so dark, that it will make you rethink everything. We are talking about fulfilled prophecies, about a secret plan that is already in motion, and you are here now to witness it. Let's be real. The world is not the same anymore, and you realized that a long time ago. Let's dive into this abyss together, because what comes next will show you how everything is connected in ways you never imagined. Trump is at the center of a dark secret that will make your heart race. He and Israel are plotting something so explosive it could light up end times biblical prophecies, and you need to know this now. What is happening is a shocking truth, something you can't ignore, and it's happening right before your eyes. Trump, Israel, the Third Temple, and the New World Order are aligning in a secret plan, and it will leave you breathless as you discover the details. Stay with me, because this will turn your head inside out. Every news you see, every political decision Trump makes, hide a prophetic scheme counting down to Armageddon. Trump and Israel are the epicenter of an apocalyptic hurricane, and you've probably felt something gigantic is about to happen. This secret, this spark, can set the whole world on fire. The world is falling apart, and you know it. Feel the power of being at the forefront of this discovery. Like now, and multiply the impact of this stunning revelation. Share this truth with as many people as possible. Trump is stirring forces beyond our understanding. Nobody talks openly about it, but his every step, his every move with Israel, pulses with a prophetic meaning that you can't ignore. Have you ever wondered what's behind this? Your perspective is unique and has the power to inspire others to see beyond the obvious. Write in the comments what this secret awakened in you. Share the impact of this discovery. Time is speeding up, and what Trump is doing to Israel is just the tip of the iceberg. Are you already part of a community that unearths truths and changes realities? This is the time to come together and be part of something bigger. Sign up now and power this transformative movement with your unique energy, because what comes next will connect you to something you never imagined. This is the time to come together and be part of something bigger. Have you ever stopped to think about how the decisions of world leaders can shape the destiny of all humanity? How seemingly political actions can trigger events that were already predicted millennia ago in the Holy Scriptures? What if what you're about to discover now was the key to understanding the end times? Something so monumental that, when we become aware, we could no longer ignore. Donald Trump and Israel are the central pieces of this story, a story that not only involves politics but biblical prophecies, mystery, and secrets that to this day are being revealed to the world. What is really going on behind the scenes? Have you ever stopped to wonder what is really behind this connection between the most powerful man in the West and the State of Israel? Trump and Israel, two seemingly distant forces, but whose fates may be deeply intertwined with biblical prophecies. In 2017, Trump did something revolutionary by recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, a decision that changed the course of history and ignited warnings for those who study the scriptures. But what does this really mean? Are we just dealing with a diplomatic move or an action that may be fulfilling a greater divine plan, which many are ignoring? Imagine for a moment that Trump's every move toward Israel, it's not just political, but it's part of something much bigger, something that was predicted in the Holy Scriptures for centuries. Can you feel the gravity of this? The impact of this decision is not limited to a simple change in the global political map, but to the fulfillment of something profoundly prophetic. And if, instead of just being an act of political recognition, was Trump in fact preparing the ground for the reconstruction of the Third Temple? What would this mean for the future of the world? Have you ever stopped to reflect on this? Now, imagine the Third Temple of Jerusalem, that local saint, which has been the center of attention in biblical prophecies, has already been destroyed twice, and the Bible predicts he will be rebuilt before the arrival of Antichrist. But how does this connect with Trump and his relationship with Israel? Since he assumed the presidency, Trump has made decisions that altered the course of events in the Middle East. The move of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem was just the beginning of something much bigger. The reconstruction of the Third Temple is a clear sign that we are living in the last days. What if what we're seeing isn't a coincidence? And if Trump, with his rapprochement with Israel, is in some way accelerating a prophetic process, what would that mean for all of us? Are you prepared for what this entails? Are we facing the beginning of an apocalyptic scenario that can change the course of history forever? Do you have the courage to look at the signs and accept what is being revealed, or will you continue to ignore the evidence that is before your eyes? But at the same time as this connection with Israel and Trump becomes clearer, there's something even more disturbing happening behind the scenes. What is at stake here is not just the future of one nation, but the fate of the entire world. The secret plan behind these alliances may have consequences that go beyond our understanding. The reconstruction of the Third Temple, it is not just a historical event, it's the end of time. What is happening now is not a coincidence. This is a time to awaken, and it is now that you need to be attentive to everything that is unfolding before us. Have you noticed how tensions are growing around Jerusalem? The sacred city has always been the point of greatest conflict, and now, with the Trump's involvement, the situation may have taken turns that no one expected. Are we being prepared for an event of biblical proportions? Are we ready to see the Third Temple being rebuilt? And, even more so, are we witnessing the rise of the Antichrist as described in biblical prophecies? Most surprising of all is that most people don't realize the magnitude of what is happening. What is being done now regarding Israel may be playing a vital role in the prophecies leading up to Armageddon. The reconstruction of the Third Temple is not something that will take place in the distant future. We are talking about the very near future, and Trump's involvement, with his alliances with religious leaders and Jews, may be an indication that we are closer than we imagined to witnessing the fulfillment of this prophecy. This will change everything you knew about the future. Time is speeding up, and what unfolds before us has far greater implications than anyone can predict. If Trump and Israel are truly fulfilling a prophetic plan, so what comes next will transform everything we know about the end of the world. Now I want to know, are you starting to understand the impact of all this? Have you considered what this might mean for the future? Leave the word Amen in the comments if you feel that we are living the beginning of the end, and if you're ready to see how it all connects. What you are about to hear will completely challenge everything you believed about the future and Israel's role in the last days. Jerusalem, the epicenter of biblical prophecies, is not just an ordinary city. She represents the center of the fulfillment of Scripture, and everything that is happening in Israel right now is directly linked to events that were predicted centuries ago. But did you know that this connection, it's not a simple coincidence? What is at stake is not just the fate of a nation, but the fate of all humanity. The Bible, especially in books like Daniel and Revelation, does clear references to Jerusalem and the Third Temple as symbols of the fulfillment of prophecies about the end of times. In Daniel 9:27, for example, it is said that a world leader, which is based on temple, will cause a great tribulation, beginning the final cycle of destruction and renewal of the world. And what we see today with Trump and Israel, it's something that seems prophetically inevitable. The Third Temple, which was destroyed twice, has always been a sacred structure directly associated with the future. According to prophecy, when it is rebuilt, it will mark the beginning of a new era, where the Antichrist will arise and a great spiritual battle will take place. The reconstruction of this temple is not just a religious or political issue. For Bible scholars, this is a clear sign that we are approaching the Great Tribulation. But can you see the direct relationship between what is happening now and what was foretold in the Scriptures? The Trump's recognition of Jerusalem like the capital of Israel, it was more than a simple diplomatic gesture. It was a prophetic milestone that many cannot see, but that opens the doors to the fulfillment of the prophecy of Daniel 9:27. The question that remains is, are we witnessing the beginning of a cycle that will change the destiny of the world? Furthermore, in Revelation 11:1-2, it is described that Jerusalem will be the central point where the temple will be restored before the arrival of the Antichrist. And here is the connection of everything we are seeing. Trump, with his aggressive stance, his decisions and alliances, is possibly building the scene which will lead to the rebuilding of the temple. What appears to be a simple political game may, in fact, be the last piece of a prophetic puzzle which was established more than 2,000 years ago. Now think about this. If the Bible is right, and we are seeing signs of the fulfillment of these prophecies, what does this mean for our future? Trump's every step toward Israel could be the key that is preparing the way for what comes next. But if we are not careful, we can go through this moment without even realizing. The reconstruction of the Third Temple is not just an insignificant detail. He is at the center of Scripture and apocalyptic prophecy. The temple is the place where the Antichrist will reveal itself. And what scares me most is that, with Trump's alliances and actions, the scenario for this temple to begin to be rebuilt may be closer than we think. And when this happens, it will be a clear sign that the end times have truly begun. Everything that is happening with Israel and Trump's actions are directly connected with the latest events in human history, which, according to the Scriptures, precede the Great Tribulation. This is not just a remote possibility. What we're seeing, every move, every decision, it is charting the path to a future that was prophesied. The reconstruction of the temple could be more real and imminent than you imagine, and that completely changes the perception of everything that happens in Israel and the world. Now, let's leave an open reflection. Do you really believe that we are witnessing the fulfillment of biblical prophecies before our eyes? With everything that's going on, do you feel like we are approaching the end of times? Leave your opinion in the comments now. What do you think of this link between Trump, Israel, and fulfilling Scripture? When Trump recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, a shockwave went through the world, and many people did not understand the real impact of this decision. It was a risky political move, but at the same time, it was like opening a door to an unknown path, a path deeply linked to biblical prophecies that were made more than 2,000 years ago. But here's the real question. What does this decision mean for the future of the world? Jerusalem is not just any city. For Jews, Christians, and Muslims, Jerusalem has a deep meaning and sacred. The city is the epicenter of thousands of years of religious history and apocalyptic prophecies. When Trump declared Jerusalem the capital of Israel, it wasn't just a diplomatic move. It was like put a target on the back of the future. In doing so, he tapped into something much bigger, something mysterious and even prophetic. What is now unfolding before our eyes? It's not a simple power play, but a movement that can be part of a divine plan. And what is even more interesting is that it wasn't done without reason. It wasn't just for political reasons. Trump may have just been an instrument to fulfill a greater purpose. When we analyze this action with eyes prophetic, it becomes clear that it could be the catalyst for something much bigger. The Bible talks about Jerusalem taking center stage, and now with this decision by Trump, she is once again at the center of history. It's as if the world is being ready for something monumental. Is the recognition of Jerusalem the definitive sign that we are moving towards the fulfillment of end-time prophecy? Do you realize that by making this change, Trump not only altered the world political map, but moved with forces far beyond what we can imagine? The implications of this decision go far beyond what we can see in today's news. We are talking about a global change, a change that could be the key to an apocalyptic scenario that is unfolding before us. What happened with Trump's decision is not just a simple diplomatic shift. By recognizing Jerusalem as the capital, he may have inadvertently put the world on the path of a long-awaited prophecy. For biblical scholars, this action can be the fulfillment of prophecies from Daniel and Revelation, where Jerusalem becomes the center of global and spiritual conflicts. And when we look at the global reactions, it becomes clear that something big is at stake. The change in Jerusalem politics was not well received by many nations, as it touches on the historical tension between nations and religions. But isn't this resistance exactly what the scriptures predicted? Did the Bible, with all its clarity, already warn of the fact that Jerusalem would become a point of confrontation, a point of conflict, great division in the world? The depth of this change cannot be underestimated. The recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel and a historical and prophetic milestone. For the Jews, it is confirmation of their return to their promised land. But for many others, it could be a sign that the end of times is closer than we imagine. The truth is, if you really understand what's at stake here, you will notice that this decision by Trump could be the key that activates a sequence of events which will take us directly to great tribulation. The Bible talks about times when the nations will turn against Jerusalem, and with increasing tensions around that city, the prophecy appears to be taking shape faster than we ever imagined. Trump's every move toward Israel, every action taken on behalf of the Jewish nation, seems to have a deeper weight, more mysterious than any political decision ever made. And that's what scares the most. Trump isn't just shaping the present, he is accelerating a divine process which could be the beginning of the fulfillment of major apocalyptic events. Imagine now the tension around Jerusalem, with the city increasingly becoming the focus of global conflicts and religious disputes. In Daniel 9:27, we see the description of a leader who at the end of time will sign a peace agreement with Israel and the world. This agreement, which appears to be a temporary solution to the conflicts, will be the gateway to the biggest crisis the world has ever faced. Is this exactly Trump's role? He is creating a moment of false peace before all the destruction? That's an important question, and I know it doesn't get out of your head now. I know the answers to all of this may be uncomfortable, but have you ever wondered are we prepared for the times ahead? When we look at everything that's happening, the scenario starts to make sense. If Trump and Israel are the key figures in realizing these prophecies, then the future of humanity is being shaped by events happening now, and the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel may only be the first piece of a great prophetic puzzle. This is the crucial point. Have you ever stopped to think about the impact of this on your own life? We are living in times where biblical prophecies are no longer just theories, but events that are happening in real time. What is your role in all of this? How do you feel knowing that we are getting closer to a possible great global transformation? How do you see this connection between Trump's actions, Israel, and biblical prophecies? Leave your opinion in the comments. What do you think is behind all this? The Third Temple of Jerusalem has always been one of the central pillars of biblical prophecies about the end times, and its reconstruction is not just a religious desire, but a clear and inevitable prophetic sign that we should all pay attention to. The Bible, in passages like Daniel 9:27 and Revelation 11:1-2, describes in detail that the temple will be rebuilt before the arrival of Antichrist. This is not just an expectation for the faithful, but a warning sign for everyone who pays attention to last days. What many don't know, however, is that we are getting closer and closer to witnessing the reconstruction of this temple. And one of the central figures who may be accelerating this process is Donald Trump. His relationship with Israel, especially the way he became involved with Jerusalem and his political decisions regarding the Middle East, may have placed the world on a faster trajectory towards the fulfillment of one of the Bible's most feared prophecies. Have you ever stopped to think about the historical weight? What does the reconstruction of the Third Temple entail? The impact of this goes beyond religion. It is the fulfillment of a prophecy that is directly linked to the arrival of the end times, which means what's happening now cannot be ignored. Every step we take now, every political action, is creating the conditions for the arrival of a future that defies everything we know about the world and our existence. The Bible talks about the need for a temple in Jerusalem, a place where the Antichrist will sit down, proclaiming himself to be God, deceiving the whole world. When Trump took the historic decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, he not only altered the course of political history, but may have accelerated a larger plan which was already underway. But did he know that? Or was he somehow part of a bigger plan? What was destined to be accomplished? The reconstruction of the Third Temple is not just a question religious, but also a question geopolitics and prophetic. The temple will be the center of end-time events, and the reconstruction of this temple is being planned actively by various organizations within Israel. The Temple Institute, for example, already has the plans ready, trained priests and the sacred utensils prepared. And the most shocking, this is all happening now. It is no longer a distant dream or a remote idea, but something that is becoming more and more real. Trump, by supporting Israel so emphatically, has, unintentionally, accelerated the process, which could lead to the rebuilding of the temple. He recognized Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, but also strengthened Israel's alliances with surrounding countries, something that hadn't happened in decades. He was part of a global movement of strengthening of Israel, which generated a perfect alignment so that in the near future, the temple can finally be rebuilt. And when that happens, will be the clear sign that the tribulation is about to begin. The question we should all ask is, are we prepared for this event? Trump's role in this is complex. On the one hand, he has been seen as a defender of Israel, someone who, by supporting the country, could be seen as the leader of a divine movement, something like a new Cyrus the Great of biblical prophecy. Cyrus, a Persian king, was responsible for allowing the Jews to return to Jerusalem and rebuild the Second Temple. Some believe Trump may be playing a similar role without even realizing it. But on the other hand, the Bible warns us about the arrival of a false leader, and the rebuilding of the temple could be a false peace, setting the stage for the Antichrist. What is at stake here is not just a building, but the future of the whole world. The rebuilding of the Third Temple will trigger a sequence of events that will mark the end of our era, the beginning of the Great Tribulation. And when we think about all this, the urgency becomes even clearer. The rebuilding of this temple is not something that can wait. It is not something we can simply ignore. It needs to happen for the end times as described in the Bible to unfold. And the reality is, if the temple is really rebuilt, this means we are about to witness the fulfillment of the most powerful prophecies already registered. Think about this. If Trump is in fact accelerating the process, how will this affect the future of humanity? What will happen when the temple is built and the world realizes that we are on the threshold of a new era, an era of apocalyptic conflicts? The impact of this will be immense, as it will be the sign that we are within a divine prophecy that cannot be stopped. Trump's actions can no longer be seen simply as diplomatic, but as part of a divine plan that is unfolding before our eyes. So the question arises before us, how do we react to all this? Are we really prepared to see the world change in this way? And most importantly, we are aware that the rebuilding of the temple is not just a historical event, but the prelude to a great transformation of the world as we know it. Is everything we are seeing really part of a bigger plan, which will define the future of humanity, and we are mere spectators of this great prophetic spectacle? I know it's difficult to accept this reality, but the urgency of it all is getting clearer every day. The pieces are falling into place, and the question we must ask ourselves is, are we prepared for what lies ahead? Or will we continue to ignore the signs and wait until it's too late? What do you think about the reconstruction of the Third Temple and Trump's role in that process? Leave your opinion in the comments on how all of this connects with biblical prophecies. New Abraham Accords. They are not just a diplomatic victory, they are a milestone in something much bigger than simply negotiating peace in the Middle East. These agreements, orchestrated by Trump, could be a clear sign that we are closer to the fulfillment of end times prophecies than we imagined. But is this much celebrated peace real, or are we being deceived to pave the way for something much darker? The Abraham Accords were signed with the promise of normalized relations between Israel and its Arab neighbors, bringing a promise of peace and stability to a region historically marked by conflict. But when we look deeper, what we see may be much more than a simple, superficial peace. Trump, by actively engaging in these negotiations, was not just creating a traditional peace agreement, but possibly playing a crucial role in fulfilling the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation. These agreements are not just about the present, but about set the stage for the future. The peace that has been achieved may, in fact, just be a facade for what is to come. The Bible already warned us about the coming of a world leader who would bring about a false period of peace, preparing the ground for the arrival of Antichrist. Daniel 9:27 speaks of a leader who will establish a false peace in the Middle East before causing great destruction. And when we look at the Abraham Accords, the question we must ask ourselves is this true peace or just the first step towards something much more sinister? Trump played a central role in establishing the Abraham Accords, becoming the main architect of this new phase of diplomatic relations between Israel and some Arab countries. This movement was historic, but something stands out. The fact that these agreements were made around the idea of peace in the Middle East with emphasis on Jerusalem place a prophetic lens on them. Remember that according to Scripture, any peace pact involving Jerusalem has profound implications, as it is in Jerusalem where the greatest prophetic events will take place. These agreements are undoubtedly creating a path to peace, but are the true intentions of bringing harmony, or are they being used to prepare the world for the great conflict of Armageddon? The question is simple but profound. Are the Abraham Accords a genuine effort to resolve Middle Eastern conflicts, or are they just covering up something more sinister? The real test of these agreements will be when the peace that was agreed upon begins to be tested in the coming decades, and you can bet it won't be easy. We cannot ignore the mystery of how things will unfold. Are we being led to believe there is peace as we prepare to an apocalyptic event? Are these agreements truly bringing peace, or are they setting the stage for the Antichrist to emerge? What is really interesting and at the same time disturbing is that Trump and his allies in the Middle East are creating something much bigger than just a political or economic alliance. They are possibly preparing the paving for a new global system where peace will be the facade for the true transformation of global power. This seems like something the Bible already warned us about, and it puts us in a very delicate position. We are living the last days, where the deception will be so great that even the chosen ones can be deceived. Are these peace agreements just a step into a much darker phase? Do you realize the seriousness of what is happening? We are witnesses to the fulfillment of prophecies that radically transform the configuration of the world and prepare the ground for cataclysmic events. These Abraham Accords aren't just about peace, but about a transition to a new world order where political games are much deeper than we can understand with our limited vision. And while we see Trump being praised for creating this peace, perhaps what he is really doing is pave the way for the rise of an elite-controlled global system, which will lead us to a future that, compared to the prophecies, is terrifying. Now, stop for a moment and think. If the Abraham Accords really are the first step towards something bigger, what would that mean for the future of humanity? What we are witnessing is not just politics. It is part of a global plan that can change the timelines that the Bible described. The end times are no longer a distant possibility, but something that is shaping up before us. And the real question is, are we prepared for what's to come? Given all of this, I want to know your opinion. Do you think the Abraham Accords represent true peace, or are they just setting the stage for something darker and more prophetic? Leave in the comments your vision about the impact these agreements could have in the coming years and how they could be related to the fulfillment of biblical prophecies. What you are about to discover will change your view of the history being made now and how it connects directly to the future of the world and the Bible. Trump, with his alliances with Israel, appears to be not only making political decisions but, without knowing, fulfilling a role prophetic which could lead him to become one of the most controversies in history, and perhaps even a pawn of the Antichrist. That seems exaggerated, doesn't it? But is it really? The Bible warns us about a world leader, a man who will deceive the nations, make alliances, and in some way be responsible for opening the doors to the recent times. The description of Antichrist in the Scriptures is clear. He will be a man who apparently will bring solutions, but doing so will cause great destruction. The Antichrist will be charismatic, convincing, and will win the support of many around the world. He will be the answer to global problems, offering peace and stability. But what many don't realize is that this peace will be false and temporary, a disguise to prepare the way for great tribulation. Trump, with his decisions regarding Israel, may in fact be playing a crucial role in this great prophetic game. In Revelation 13:3-4, the Bible talks about a leader who will emerge on the world stage and be followed by many, leading humanity to worship and creating a global government. And this is where Trump enters the scene. Its close relationship with Israel, its global leadership position, and the recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel make many wonder. Could it be that he is playing a leadership role that unknowingly connects him with the plans of a global government? The fact that he is so adored by millions of people and his strong global influence make your figure fit perfectly into a description which could be associated with the Antichrist, if end-time events actually unfold this way. But don't be fooled. The Antichrist will not be someone who immediately appears as a threat. The Bible describes this leader as someone who will deceive the masses, someone who will be accepted as a salvador, but which, in reality, will bring destruction and desolation. The Antichrist will establish alliances with the nations, especially with Israel. What is even more disturbing is that Trump has, on several occasions, been compared to Cyrus the Great, the Persian king who helped rebuild the Second Temple in Jerusalem. Some rabbis in Israel even said that Trump was sent by God to help rebuild the temple and prepare the way for the Messiah. This prophetic connection with Cyrus has generated a huge controversy. Is Trump simply being used to fulfill a role that he himself does not understand? When allying with figures, Jewish, religious, and leaders, Trump positioned himself strategically, not just as a defender of Israel, but as someone who has shown himself to be more important and shocking than any other world leader in recent decades. He's not just making political moves to strengthen relationships with Israel, but somehow it is becoming a key piece in the fulfillment of prophecies that go far beyond political intentions. And this is what leaves us with a feeling of discomfort and uncertainty. What is Trump really preparing alongside Israel? Now imagine for a moment the impact of this, if it is actually being used without knowing to fulfill the prophecies of the Antichrist. This means that the decisions he makes today, they are shaping the future of the world. The Bible speaks of a single government, one controlled global economy by a leader who will dominate commerce and people's lives. And it is exactly that we are beginning to see, in a way gradual, manipulation of the world economy, the control over global finances, and until the advancement of technologies that create a global surveillance system are aspects that may be a prelude to what is to come. What about you? Look at what Trump is doing regarding the New World Order. You start to see the connections. What seemed like a simple political action may now be shaping the future of humanity in ways we cannot yet understand. The Bible talks about the rise of a global leader, and Trump, with his global influence, its power over the economy, and its proximity to Israel, may in fact be paving the way for this apocalyptic era. The question now is, what does all this mean for us, for our lives? What are we really witnessing here? Could it be that we are really prepared for what lies ahead? When you look at the history of Trump and Israel, there is a sense that he is a key piece in this great game of prophetic chess. But what will be your true role? He may be being used to prepare the ground for the fulfillment of the prophecies, or he is really working to bring peace and stability to the world. This is something that you need to seriously reflect, because the implications for the future are profound and far-reaching. And here comes the biggest dilemma. Whether Trump is becoming a central figure in fulfilling these prophecies, what will be the impact on all of us? We are talking about a global transformation that affects not only politics, but the economy, spirituality, and power structures themselves who govern the world. And as uncomfortable as the subject may be, we can no longer ignore the signs. Trump, with his actions, alliances, and decisions, is shaping the future in ways few can realize. Do you think Trump is fulfilling a prophetic role related to the Antichrist? Or are we just seeing a political leader who is trying to bring stability to the Middle East? Leave your opinion in the comments and share your view on Trump's connection with biblical prophecies. As we observe developments on the global political stage, a very important question arises. Is Trump a defender of freedom and national sovereignty, or is he somehow being manipulated to help implement the New World Order? The truth is that no. Matter how much he presents himself as a leader against the system, some of his actions may be paving the way for something even bigger and darker. Is he the hero, or is he unknowingly serving a plan that was hatched long ago by global elites? A New World Order. It is a concept that many believe to be a conspiracy theory, but the truth is that it has gained more and more strength. The objective of this global order would be total control of the planet, creating a single system of government, a centralized economy, and elimination of borders national. This all seems to be becoming more and more real, not only through political agreements, but also through financial policies, control of the media and technology, as well as military movements. When we look at Trump and his stance towards the global system, the first impression is that he is fighting the New World Order. His speeches often talk about restore national sovereignty, challenge globalization, and fight the financial elites who control the world. The initial impression is that he is at war with the powerful who seek to transform the world into one big global government. But when we look deeper, we see that their actions may not be so simple like this. On the one hand, Trump speaks against globalists, but on the other, his alliances and political decisions may be helping to pave the way for this new world order in ways we don't realize. Trump's relationship with figures such as China's leaders, global bankers, and large corporations has been seen as an attempt to strengthen your position in power. But what if, in doing so, he was unwittingly feeding the very system he fights against? If we look at its economic policy, for example, the changing structure of trade agreements and their stance towards global industry could be preparing the ground for a global digitized financial system, exactly what elites need to exercise total control over the world population. The question here is extremely uncomfortable. Trump is really fighting the New World Order, or he is, without knowing it, an unwitting ally of this system. In some circumstances, his America First policies seem like a genuine effort to restore the sovereignty of the United States, but in others, it seems work towards strengthening a global system that can lead to total control of humanity. See how, for example, trade agreements with major world powers, including the China, may not just be a way to balance the economic scales, but a step closer to integrating economies under a single global financial system. And when he signs peace agreements in the Middle East, like the Abraham Accords, a temporary peace may be being built, but the Bible describes a false before total destruction. Could it be that by facilitating this type of agreement, he is paving the way for a peace that sets the stage for the arrival of the Antichrist? The truth is that Trump has been a polarizing figure. While many see him as the leader who challenges the global elite and fights for the good of the nation and people, others believe he is contributing unknowingly to the creation of a new order of control and surveillance, which will subjugate individuals and nations, eliminating freedom. The power of financial elites and corporations that he apparently fights are also those who have financial interests in a centralized global government. This brings us to the following crucial question. Is Trump actually in a battle against globalist forces, or is he being manipulated into being part of this grand plan that he apparently condemns? This may seem contradictory, but when looking at its immigration policies, alliances with authoritarian countries, and its relationship with large corporations who seek a centralized global government, is he really fulfilling a role that is, in the end, favoring the creation of a new world order? The truth, which may be hard to swallow, is that Trump may be being used as a pawn in a much bigger game. If he really is against the global system, as he claims, what is he doing in its alliances with world power figures? Is he helping the elites carry out a project that will ultimately transform him into a leader of an apocalyptic era, where decisions will be made by a hidden elite and citizens will be controlled by a single financial system? The whole situation becomes even more disconcerting when you look at technological advances, especially in the financial sector, which are being carried out under his presidency. The digitalization of the global economy and the advancement of cryptocurrencies are seen by many as the path to a full control. It is no coincidence that Trump, through his economic policy, has reinforced the need for a more controlled and centralized system, something that seems to be exactly what the New World Order search. Now imagine the impact of this on the future of humanity. What would happen if Trump was accidentally accelerating the fulfillment of a global agenda that is beyond our comprehension. When you think about it, the most important question is, what will be the role of people in the world that is being shaped by these decisions? The future is being rewritten before our eyes, and the question we must ask ourselves is, we are prepared for a world where our freedoms will be controlled by a global elite and where power will be centralized in a few powerful hands. Is Trump really fighting for our freedom, or is he just a tool used by the same globalists? He claims to be fighting. What's your opinion on this power play we're seeing? Do you think Trump is just fighting the New World Order, or is he somehow contributing to its strengthening? Leave in the comments your vision about the future we are building and how you think Trump's actions could be taking us towards this new global scenario. As the world moves towards an era of rapid technological transformations, a frightening question forces itself upon us all. Are we heading towards the fulfillment of the dreaded mark of the beast? This prophecy, described in Revelation 13:16-17, speaks of a global system of control where no one will be able to buy or sell without a specific brand, an economic system where financial control will be absolute, centered on an immense power that restricts our freedoms. Now look around you and see, technology is becoming more and more ubiquitous. Cryptocurrencies are gaining traction, digital tracking systems are being implemented, and technological innovations are creating a new kind of global power. All of this brings us closer and closer to a reality that the scriptures warned us about. But the most disturbing thing is that Trump, with his policies and his stance towards the global economy, you may be accelerating this process without even realizing it. Your decisions regarding financial technology, artificial intelligence, and even the creation of new digital currency systems may be facilitating a transition that will lead to total control of world finances. The Bible describes the mark of the beast as a universal control system that cannot be avoided, and as the world moves towards full scan, this financial control can be imposed through a single currency, personal data tracking, and biometric identification. You may think this is still a long way off, but if you look closely, you will see that we are seeing the first signs of a global financial system being built right before our eyes. Trump, with his stance on the digital economy, the use of cryptocurrencies, and even support for new forms of data control, may in fact be preparing the ground for this global control system. Not only that, but its policy of economic globalization and the unification of markets is creating a perfect setting for the type of control system described in Revelation. Cryptocurrencies, for example, are seen by many as an alternative to the traditional banking system. But have you ever stopped to think that, by accepting them as a global solution, we are opening the door to a future where everything we buy and sell will be tracked by a centralized system? It will no longer be possible to make transactions without everything being subject to control. A cryptocurrency technology is the key to creating a single global financial control system. We are, in fact, moving towards the implementation of the mark of the beast, a reality in which individual freedom will be replaced by a system that centralizes power in the hands of a few. And the scariest thing of all is that Trump and his policies may be fueling this reality without most people noticing. With its stance of supporting new technologies and digitalization of global economies, he may be, without knowing it, opening the doors to the end of financial freedom. When he talks about making America great again and boosting global economy, he will actually be creating a system of freedom or just facilitating the rise of a totalitarian financial system. Have you ever reflected on the impact that absolute financial control could have on your life? Imagine a future where every transaction you make, whether buying something simple or making a donation, is monitored and controlled by a single financial system. The Bible warns about this, saying that no one will be able to buy or sell without the mark of the beast. And when looking at what is happening with the emerging technologies, we can start to see how it all fits together. Are we getting closer to this system? Trump, by promoting unrestricted technological advancement, by embracing new forms of digital control, you may be, without knowing it, forming part of an agenda that prepares the land for the emergence of this centralized power. Your efforts to globalize the financial market, your alliances with global leaders, and the way he has treated digitalization of finance, these are fundamental aspects that deserve to be analyzed. It's no coincidence that the world's greatest leaders are working in the same direction, and others incorporation of technologies that allow tracking of financial and personal transactions may be the first step towards establishing a single system of global economic control. And the question that we cannot leave aside is this really a path of no return? What will happen when this system begins to be implemented more widely, and is there no longer a way to escape financial and personal surveillance? How cryptocurrencies and market digitalization become more prevalent, the false promise of freedom and anonymity begins to dissipate, revealing a control system where nothing will be private. A technology is shaping our future, and others' mark of the beast described in Revelation is approaching with great strides. Is society already being programmed to accept this future without even realizing it? Now, when thinking about all this, stop and reflect. See, Trump is actually creating a path to this system of global control without us knowing. Where does this leave us? We are heading towards a future controlled by a global elite that uses technology to subject the population to a single and omnipresent system. Are you really prepared for this kind of future? Where will all this take us? What will happen when this control is fully implemented? I know the implications of this are huge, which is why we need to reflect on what is happening now. Will the acceptance of technology without question takes us straight to the path that the Bible warned us about? And most importantly, what will be your role in this future? Now I want to hear from you. What is your opinion on emerging technologies and their impact on the global financial future? Do you think we are moving towards implementing the control system described in Revelation, or is it too early to worry? Leave in the comments your opinion about what is happening and how you see the role of Trump in the changes we are experiencing. Jerusalem. It was never just a city. Since biblical times, it has always been seen as the focal point of apocalyptic prophecies. In Zechariah 12:3, the Bible already warned us that Jerusalem would become a burden to all nations, a center of intense conflicts where the forces of the world would clash. And what we are seeing today is exactly that. What seemed distant and confusing at many moments in history now seems to be becoming an inescapable reality, with Trump playing a central role in the escalation of this tension. The decision to Trump to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in 2017 was a milestone that not only altered global political dynamics, but also lit a flame of tension which is now impossible to ignore. In doing so, he not only defied decades of international diplomacy, but also has thrust Jerusalem into the spotlight as a rallying point for powerful forces seeking control over the city. And with that, he may have set the stage for a worldwide conflict that will fulfill the prophecies of Revelation. The Bible had already said that Jerusalem would be a burden to the nations, but no one imagined that would be a source of conflict so intense and so immediate. And when Trump recognized Jerusalem, he didn't do this without knowing the profound impact his decision would have. He knew his action would divide the world, and it would intensify tensions, both in the Middle East and in other parts of the globe. The city of Jerusalem, which for Jews is sacred, for Muslims it is equally vital, and for Christians it is the site of many of the events that define the faith, became the epicenter of a global struggle. The central problem here is that Jerusalem became a symbol of power, a power that no one wants to let go, and what Trump did when he recognized the city as the capital of Israel. It was a strategic move, who not only did Israel triumph, but further accentuated the rivalry between nations. Attention now revolves around who controls Jerusalem, and Trump, by making this move, may have accelerated the arrival of a conflict of global proportions. Will Trump's decision to support Israel so emphatically is not a next step of a bigger plan that we are just beginning to understand? He may be paving the way for a great international confrontation, a war that will fulfill what was predicted in the scriptures. When we see all the signs around us, it seems like this impending war could be the culmination of apocalyptic prophecies. The city of Jerusalem will be the last piece of the puzzle, and with Trump being the catalyst for this escalation, we can be closer than ever to seeing these prophecies come to life. The fear of an imminent war. It's not an exaggeration. The world stage is becoming increasingly worrying, with tensions escalating not only in the Middle East but across the globe. The impact of Trump's actions is not just limited to the Middle East, but it reverberates throughout the world, as political decisions around Jerusalem directly affect relations between the great powers, between Israel and its neighbors, and even between religions. He acted in a way irresponsible, or was he just an instrument of a greater plan, a prophetic plan that places him at the center of divine strategy for the last days. These are questions that make us reflect on the true intentions behind Trump's actions. What is he really doing with Israel? This at war against a global system who wants to control the nations, or is setting the stage for a great catastrophe that will end the freedoms and values that many defend? Your alliance with Israel can be seen as part of a larger resistance movement, but is he playing into the hands of forces much more powerful and manipulative than he can imagine? Tensions in Jerusalem are reaching a boiling point, and with that, the future of humanity may be forming before our eyes. We are on the brink of a major global conflict, a war that may be the prelude to the final fulfillment of apocalyptic prophecies and the burden of Jerusalem. It could be a clear sign that this conflict has already begun. Is Trump really aware of the prophetic role he is playing? Or is he unintentionally accelerating a process that the global system itself desires? When we think about implications of this tension in Jerusalem, the fear that a major world conflict starts seems to be only logical conclusion. The signs are everywhere, and it seems that we are moving faster and faster towards a future that can be the realization of an apocalyptic scenario. A city of Jerusalem, always divided, is now at the center of a global power game, and with the Trump's performance, this dispute only has tended to intensify. Now, imagine the impact that this war may have on your own beliefs and the future of the planet. We are really prepared to witness the fulfillment of these prophecies. A global tension around Jerusalem is not just a political issue, it is a matter of life and death. And what we are seeing with Trump, it could just be the beginning of something much bigger, something that will transform the world as we know it. The truth is that we can no longer ignore the signs. We are on the verge of a big event, and with the Trump's role in this scenario, everything seems to converge towards the fulfillment of the prophecies of Revelation. Did this war will be the trigger for a new global scenario, a scenario of destruction and renewal that will mark the end of times? Now, I want to know about you. Do you believe that Trump is somehow accelerating the process that will lead to a major global conflict? Leave your opinion in the comments and share your vision about the role of Jerusalem and Trump in the fulfillment of biblical prophecies. Now that we have gone through so many important points, the question that remains unanswered is, what are we really seeing before us? Trump's decisions, his involvement with Israel, and his global movements, these are not coincidences. At every step, we see that biblical prophecies are being fulfilled before our eyes, and the future is being shaped by forces that go far beyond what we imagined. What once seemed distant is now a growing reality that must make us stop and reflect deeply on what is to come. Jerusalem, the Third Temple, Trump's relationship with the nations, and even global financial policies, all of this is intertwining into one complex web that cannot be ignored. The scriptures predicted that a great leader would arise and bring temporary peace. Before the end, and now with Trump playing a central role in this process, doubts arise. Are we being prepared for the arrival of the Antichrist? Will the Trump's actions are a sign that we are closer to witnessing the fulfillment of the apocalypse? If so, are we prepared for what this means for humanity? The reconstruction of the Third Temple and the growing tension in Jerusalem are prophetic events, visible signs that the apocalyptic scenario described in Revelation and Daniel is unfolding. That it's not something we can ignore anymore. Trump's role, his alliances with Israel, and his decisions regarding the economy and technology are contributing to something bigger and more imminent. These movements may not be accidental, but part of a greater divine plan that unfolds before our eyes, where everything is connecting and directing us to a future of intense global transformations. Now that you know the truth behind the big decisions and events that are shaping our future, it's impossible to ignore the impact they have on our lives. What we saw today is not just a story, but an urgent call to action. The future of humanity is being decided now, before our eyes, and you are here, being part of something much bigger. The decisions we are witnessing, from Trump and Israel until major global changes, are directly linked to prophecies that shape the end times, and your participation at this time cannot be underestimated. This is not just content, it's a key to opening your eyes to what's really happening in the world, and its reflection is an essential part of this transformation. You are not here by chance. Each of your interactions with this channel is a contribution to building a community that shares knowledge that can change the course of history. By signing up, You become part of a movement of enlightenment and transformation. Your voice, your doubts, your opinions are essential to this space, and it is through each one of you what we get magnify the impact of everything we are experiencing. If you haven't signed up yet, do it now and become protagonist of a mission that is bigger than any of us. Now take a moment and think, how do you feel about everything we discussed? What touched you? Your voice is not only valuable, she is the force that strengthens our community and helps spread the truth. Share your reflections in the comments. Then the exchange of ideas is the fuel that leads us to understand the future in a deeper way. Every like you give here is not just a number, but a manifestation of the impact of this message. Each likes helps spread knowledge and expands our ability to reach more people. Like now and be part of a movement that is growing, stronger and stronger. And if you think you've seen it all, prepare. There's something more waiting for you, something that will even deeper into this fascinating topic. Click now on the next video and discover surprising revelations that will change your perception of what is really happening in the world.